Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nubraids, where we've got even more big news. It's I think Final Compachi said it in the content creator chat. It's announcements, Shadow Legends this week. It's non-stop, but we have, I think, guys, I think some of you after watching this video are going to be like, this is the worst fusion of all time. Maybe some of you will like him. I'm certainly very curious what you think. We're going to be talking about Armanz the Magnificent. First of all, another bit of news first, though, guys. Let's touch on this first. A new type of event. It's launching next week. It's a new type of boost, the Awakening Boost. When an Awakening Boost is active, your chances of getting souls of a specific rank from Soul Stones will be temporarily increased. So this is next Tuesday on the 5th of March. The fusion, by the way, is going to begin on Thursday the 7th. We're planning to launch the first Awakening Boost event, giving you a 2x chance to summon 6-star Perfect Souls from Mortal and Immortal Soul Stones. The event will be up for 72 hours, and the boost only applies to the rank regardless of the rarity. If I swing the game over, so let me full screen this, run the game on the small. And we also, as well, we've got free gear removal right now, which is nice. It does mean we won't have free gear removal, remember, from now on. When the Cursed City swaps over, it's more going to be around this time, like with a week, 2 weeks to go in Cursed City in the future. So after this free gear removal, it should be a month until the next one, basically, is what's happening there. Like, if we jump over here, yeah, it's basically going to double. It doesn't double it too much. I'm very curious, I have to say, where they're going to reduce your chances of getting stuff. But in theory, your Immortal Soulstone should be a 12% chance for a 6-star, which is actually quite nice. And your Immortal will jump up to a 1.5%. It's intriguing, that's for sure. I mean, to put it like this, I mean, with 150 Mortals with a 1.5% chance, I could walk away with potentially 2 6-star souls. That's cool. Of course, they would more than likely be rare, but you could get an epic, you could get a legendary, might be okay. And we all know how often we pull mythical souls. It's an interesting event. Let me know what you think about this one. I think it's decent. It's fun to have. I think summon events in this game can be quite fun, right? The hype of saving up a bunch of shards for a 2x event and pulling in the 2x event, getting loads of stuff, it creates a pretty cool moment. That's kind of okay as well with soul stones. So we shall see. I mean, I do find it funny. There's a lot of different versions they could do. They could do 2x chance for 5-star souls, 2x for 4-star, 2x for 5-star and 6-star, 2x from Eternals this time. How about a 2x rarity? Like, they're really setting this up for there to be an almost infinite, an infinite amount of variations they could put in for this event. So we'll see how these develop and so on. But yeah, it's one of the better times to put. I mean, it's going to give you more souls than any other event, which is nice. Though bearing in mind, soulstones do sometimes tie into events like Heroes Path and stuff that you may want to do. Right, let's jump over. Let's look at the new fusion. Here he is, Armanz the Magnificent. He's actually a barbarian, which kind of surprised me. I saw a lot of comments from people saying, "Yo, it'd be a new pirate faction." Ties in with the Cursed City lore. This guy looks like Captain Jack Sparrow, really. There should be a new pirate faction. It's not happening. Or, well, I mean, maybe it will happen. I have no idea. But it's certainly not happening now. He is a barbarian, which is a little unusual. But hey, there we go. So let me move over here. Let's check it out. He's a magic support. And let's look at his skills. So weird but blade. I actually don't know how to say that. Word? Is it just word? Maybe. Attacks one enemy, has a 35 booking to 50% chance of increasing the cooldown of a random active skill by 2 turns. Builds his champion's turn meter by 10% for each turn added to the cooldown. So I guess if they only have I guess if it's already on cooldown and he can't increase it much, he'll only get a small turn meter boost. But in theory, you're getting potentially a 20% turn meter boost. Pretty decent A1. It's not bad, for sure. Okay, cool. Greatest hits is A2. 4 books to a 3-turn cooldown. Attacks all enemies. Steals all the turn meter of each target except enemies under sheep. Also places stun for 1 turn on all enemies not under sheep. Interesting stuff. It's actually a very strong move. Really good. It's going to be massive. Even for a lot of progression, like progressing on Fire Knight normal, progressing on Dark Fae, any bosses that are vulnerable to turn meter steal. mean, it's an AoE full turn meter steal. That's kind of insanely good. That's great. It's going to, again, because you're stealing the turn meter, he's almost definitely taking a turn right after, which is cool. And it's an AoE stun as well, a 100% chance. I think this is an amazing move, very strong. I also like that it doesn't affect sheep. So sheep, it's a problem with polymorph, and we're going to look at his third skill in a second. But a problem with polymorph is that, you know, with the blessing specifically, you're turned into a sheep for 2 turns, and your speed is really low. It just takes forever to get free. So thank God he can't steal the turn meter off the sheep, and they're stuck as sheep for absolutely ages. And he can't stun them either. So at least they can, in theory, do the whole ally attack and break free thing that basically never really helps. For my next trick, his A3 5 goes to a 3-turn cooldown. Places a sheep debuff on an enemy for 1 turn. Guys, this is why I said some of you will think this is the worst fusion ever. I can feel your frustration already. I can feel it palpably. I can. Then he has a 75 bucks to 100% chance of removing all buffs from all enemies and fills his turn meter by 5% for each buff removed. I'm very intrigued to see this, right? Will this... It's a single target sheep. You have to choose the target, but you could like sheep their damage dealer and just get rid of them. It's a very strong counter to Necret in Arena, right? You sheep the person that he is protected. That's bonkers good. I'm very curious if Ultimate Death Knight will redirect this, or if this can go past Ultimate Death Knight. Even so, this is a champion, right? We've got Wukong. You could build your Wukong, who does a very similar thing. With high damage, you could build this guy with high accuracy, and he could be a counter to Ultimate Death Knight. Certainly in Classic and Tag Arena, he could come in for you and sheep that Ultimate Death Knight, and that's kind of cool. So I like that. I will also say, I think something that's good about this, it's the way that Wukong works as well, and I think it's a much better version than the much less frustrating, in my opinion, than the blessing version, right? Because with the blessing, it's on your turn, usually, with the blessing. You get turned into a sheep, and you're a sheep for 2 turns with 0 turn meter, and you're locked into 150 speed. So, you know, typically, you're way slower than you were before. It takes forever to break free of a sheep. With Wukong, he turns them into a sheep for 1 turn. They keep their turn meter. So realistically, you're not a sheep for that long. It makes it much less frustrating, but it's still very impactful. It's still good. It still has a huge impact. They still come back from being a sheep with no turn meter and half HP. So, I mean, it's still pretty brutal, but it's nowhere near as bad as being like, okay, I'm a sheep for 2 turns with almost no speed, and then I come out and I'm half HP and I've got no turn meter again. Amazing. I've been out of this fight for 10 years. So... wrong page. Hang on. So I think that's good. So I've got some hopes for this. It's also that, you know, full buff strip, pretty cool. And certainly, if you think about it, he's getting turn meter fill from his A3. He's stealing turn meter in his A2. He's getting turn meter fill in his A1. This is going to be a very fast champion. This is a champion you're going to run super quick with super high accuracy, right? That's what you're going to do. And he's going to be pumping out crowd control like crazy. Master of Ceremonies is passive. Whenever a sheep debuff is removed or expires on an enemy, increase the cooldown of a random active skill on that enemy to its max. Fills this champion's turn meter by 10% for each turn added to the cooldown. There are multiple champs on this, only one will activate. That's insane passive, and he's got a 28% speed in Arena Battles aura as well. Extremely good. Yeah, that's so strong, right? His sheep becomes a lockout. That's, yeah, needless to say, it's amazing, right? That's so good. Like, you're coming in, they've got a damage dealer protected by Necret. You sheep them, you strip off buffs from everybody else. When they come out of that sheep, one of their skills is fully locked out. That's insanely strong. Or you lock out their reviver, and potentially their Duchess comes back with whatever the full 4-turn cooldown on a reviver. It's Duchess 5-turn. I don't even remember. I think it's 4. Fully locks it out. It's giving him a bunch of turn meter. Yeah, he's going to be really fast cycling through this. This guy is going to be nuts for Arena. He's going to be nuts for Curse City, for any of that wave-based stuff. Nuts for Doom Tower hard if you're progressing there. He is just extremely good, I think, anywhere that you need crowd control. Unfortunately, it's all tied in with Polymorph. Like, this passive is better with Polymorph Blessings. So, like, this is, you would probably run him. I hate to say it. There's a good chance you run this guy with Polymorph. He's an Arena lead. That's the best spot to have your Polymorph. Run him with Polymorph, and it makes his passive even better. The Polymorph from his passive is just nuts. It's doing Lockout. It's giving him Turn Meter as well. So, yeah, that's not something I think most of us want to see, is it? It's not something most of us want to see, but this is definitely a champion most of us are going to want to get, let me tell you that. This is what they had to say, by the way. It's Raid's 5th anniversary, the Festival of Creation about to start. And yeah, Armanz the Magnificent, he's going to be part of it. So yeah, Arena is definitely the place for him to shine. Cool, yes. Fusion event starts on Thursday, the 7th of March. Now, here we go. Important note, guys. Please note that the format of this fusion will be a bit different, but already familiar to you, though. They don't need that, though. Can scribble that word out. It's not unnecessary. Just as usual, you'll need to fuse the legendary champion from Epic Champions, while you'll need to summon the Epic Champions from fragments. So collect fragments to fuse up the Epics, and then you turn the Epics into the legendary. This is probably the hardest type of fusion, right? Fusions that are just collect 100 fragments for a legendary, they're easy to track, they're easy to do, it's grand. These ones are tough because you're going to need specific fragments for every specific epic. There's going to be very little here's the thing, very little flexibility with events. There's been, I'd say, in the recent past, very little flexibility with events anyway in the game. You kind of need to do everything. But that's usually how this stuff goes. You kind of need to do everything. Extremely hard to get lucky and like get the epic that you've missed or whatever. Very, very tough. And it can be quite tough for newer players as well, where, you know, doing part of the fusion becomes very difficult. You need to really finish an epic for it to be worthwhile. Probably there's going to be one or two that are easy, and then a couple that are tied into like summoning events and stuff like that that are more difficult. But yeah, it's one of the hardest ones, and I'm not really surprised. I think it's also very likely to have 2x Void Shards in there with Summon Rush as well, so an intensive time for your shards. Yeah, I think it's going to be a very challenging fusion. It starts in just under a week, but he's extremely good. It's going to be definitely worth doing, guys. Like, you're going to want to have this guy. There's no question. For your arena offense, he is going to be absolutely incredible. For your arena defense, it's going to be tough to deal with this guy. Like, it really is. And he's going to be easy to gear as well. You slap him in a bunch of perception artifacts. Perhaps you could even do Stone Skin and Perception, something like that. And he is just going to be absolutely slamming through. Could be interesting. Like, would he be good in Supersonic? Like, Supersonic is weird. There's not been too much use for Supersonic yet. I think I slapped it on a couple of people, some of my good pieces, just to use it. But Supersonic, no one is really talking about it or using it. This gives you, like, the resistance not useful. It gives you speed. Gives you more turn meter for every buff. Turn meter decrease effects are less effective. Turn meter fill effects are more effective. I don't know. It might be okay on him. It doesn't have any accuracy built in, though. So I don't know. Maybe not. But it was just a thought. Probably. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, there you go. Armanz the Magnificent. Let me know what you think about all of this, guys. And I will see you next time. Thanks for watching as always. And goodbye.